Whisper.
We crave information. It's a fundamental human need, almost as essential as food and water. In our fast-paced world, staying informed is crucial. We want to be in the know, to understand the events shaping our lives and the world around us. We want to know what's happening. Whether it's local news or global events, we seek clarity and insight. The quest for truth is like navigating a complex maze, filled with twists and turns. Where to find the truth? Often it's not magic. It's a meticulous process, involving hard work, dedication, and a network of connections. Journalists play a crucial role in this process, acting as our guides through the maze of information. It's about who you know. Journalism thrives on connections. Reporters cultivate sources, they build trust. These relationships are the backbone of their work, enabling them to gather accurate and timely information. They get the inside scoop. This inside information is often what sets apart groundbreaking stories from the mundane. It's the difference between a headline that captures attention and one that fades into obscurity. Think of it like a web. Each strand represents a connection, a source of information. The stronger and more intricate the web, the more robust the network of information. Journalists are at the center. They are the weavers of this web, connecting disparate pieces of information to form a coherent narrative. Their role is pivotal in ensuring that the public receives a well-rounded view of events. Strands connect them to sources, experts, officials. These connections are lifelines. They provide journalists with the insights and perspectives needed to report accurately and comprehensively. They provide information, context, perspectives. Each interview, each conversation adds a new layer to the story, enriching our understanding of the news. Without them, news becomes dry, faceless, incomplete. Connections breathe life into stories, transforming them from mere facts into compelling narratives that resonate with audiences. These networks aren't just about scoops. They are about building a comprehensive picture of the world. Each piece of information, each connection, helps to complete the puzzle. They shape how we understand the world. The narratives crafted by journalists influence our perceptions, our beliefs, and ultimately, our actions. The people journalists know, the whispers they hear, it all filters into the news, sometimes subtly, sometimes not. These whispers can be the seeds of major stories, the first hints of something significant. So, what happens when these networks become too close? When the lines between personal and professional blur, the integrity of the news can be compromised. When personal ties blur professional lines, this is where ethical dilemmas arise. Journalists must navigate these challenges carefully to maintain their credibility and the trust of their audience. That's where things get interesting. The interplay between personal connections and professional responsibilities can lead to both challenges and opportunities. It's a delicate balance that journalists must manage. That's where we see the real impact of connections on the news we consume. These networks shape not only the stories we hear, but also how we perceive the world. They influence the narrative, guiding our understanding of events and issues. Journalism is about objectivity, detachment. But journalists are human. They have friends, family, social circles. What happens when these worlds collide? Imagine a journalist covering a political scandal. What if their close friend is a key player? Do they recuse themselves? Do they report objectively, even if it hurts someone they care about? These are real dilemmas. Personal ties can cloud judgment. They can lead to conflicts of interest. Even the appearance of bias can damage credibility. The New York Times, like any major news organization, grapples with this constantly. Its reporters are embedded in the fabric of society. They move in powerful circles. Separating the personal from the professional is a daily challenge. It's not just personal connections that matter. Journalism is a profession built on networks. Reporters rely on sources within institutions. They cultivate relationships with officials, experts, analysts. These connections are essential. They provide access, insight, leaks, but they also come with risks. Too much reliance on a single source can lead to tunnel vision. Journalists risk becoming mouthpieces for the powerful. They might miss alternative viewpoints. The New York Times, with its vast resources, navigates a complex web of professional connections. Its reporters have access to the highest levels of power, but with access comes responsibility. How do they leverage these connections without becoming beholden to them? The case of Judith Miller is a stark reminder of the pitfalls of journalistic networks. Miller, a prominent New York Times reporter, was caught up in the controversy surrounding the Iraq War. Her reporting, based heavily on sources within the Bush administration, helped build the case for war. But the information turned out to be faulty. The war, based on flawed intelligence, had devastating consequences. Miller's case highlights the dangers of relying too heavily on a single network of sources. It underscores the need for skepticism, for seeking out diverse perspectives. The New York Times, in the aftermath of the scandal, faced harsh criticism for its coverage. It served as a wake-up call for the entire industry. Section 5. The Echo Chamber Problem, Bias and Blind Spots. We all exist in echo chambers. We gravitate towards people who share our views. Journalism is not immune to this. The people journalists know, the circles they move in, can create blind spots. If everyone in your network thinks the same way, you risk missing crucial perspectives. You become vulnerable to groupthink. This can lead to biased reporting, even if unintentional. The New York Times, despite its efforts to be objective, is not immune to this. Its reporters and editors are predominantly white, affluent, and based in New York City. This can shape their worldview, their understanding of the issues they cover. Section 6. Maintaining integrity, a tightrope walk. So how can journalism navigate these treacherous waters? How can it harness the power of networks without sacrificing its integrity? The answer is complex. There's no easy solution. It requires constant vigilance. Journalists must be aware of their own biases. They need to cultivate diverse networks, seek out dissenting voices. The New York Times, like all news organizations, must constantly strive for balance. It must ensure its reporting is fair, accurate, and representative of diverse perspectives. Section 7. Transparency, the antidote to suspicion. One crucial step is transparency. When journalists are open about their sources, their methods, it builds trust. Readers can assess for themselves the credibility of the information. Of course, there are limits to transparency. Journalists need to protect confidential sources, but the more open they can be about their process, the better. The New York Times has taken steps to be more transparent. It publishes corrections prominently. It discloses conflicts of interest. These are positive steps, but more can always be done. Section 8. The future of connections, a networked world. We live in a networked world. Social media amplifies the power of connections. Journalists are more connected than ever before. This presents both opportunities and challenges. The New York Times, like all news organizations, must adapt to this new reality. It needs to find ways to leverage the power of networks while upholding its journalistic ethics. The future of journalism depends on it.